Oh, there you are.
Very
How's it going?
well. How about yourself, Ari?
Good, good. Okay, so I'd like to welcome everybody back to the channel. For some reason, I see you. I don't see myself. This is my first time doing a Zoom interview, which is kind of ironic because, as I told you, I watch you all the time on your channel. So I feel like I jumped into my own TV show, which is kind of cool. Um, so I wanted to start off by just saying a couple of things, and then I would jump into some questions for you, if that's okay.
That's all perfect.
Okay, wonderful. So, okay, so basically, just to describe you a little bit, it's people either know you or they don't know you. And the ones who know you, they don't need to hear all this. But for those people that for some reason might not know you, so basically, you're a financial analyst, you're an economist, you have a YouTube channel, you're a penny stock specialist, you have a newsletter, you're an author, which is how I came across you. You have these for dummies books, which are incredible. I mean, they really lay it on the line for somebody who has no understanding of penny stocks from the bottom up. That it's not just necessarily a garbage stock, but it's just a smaller company that has a different way of being, um, sorry, of being analyzed, which is something that you are the I guess you're the godfather of how to figure out how to do that. Um, on a personal note, you're a really, really good person. You don't need any of this. You're always struggling. You say more than once, I've heard you say it doesn't matter if you have a couple of dollars in your pocket or if you have a lot of money. But when you say that, that says something else to me. That says not only do you feel you can help all sorts of people, but you care about all sorts of people, which by definition makes you a nonconformist. You're not like a Wall Street shark that's only going to hang with one kind of person or another kind of person. Um, I mean, if you want to figure out how many friends Peter has, all you need to really do is look how many subscribers he has, and that number will be more than that. I apologize, I'm ranting. I'll give you a chance to talk in a second. I just want to say that me personally, I professionally traded, as I was telling you, we momentum traded. We made position traders look like long term investors. We were in and out of trades. It was around 99, 2000. And so when I came back into it a couple of years ago and I happened across your book, it was a real breath of fresh air because you have this way of analyzing companies that's, first of all, a little bit more relaxed, slow down, not like in this intensity. And second of all, it's almost spiritual because it's like you're observing the whole world. It's like that guy's busy with that and that guy's busy with that, but you get to see it all and you get to make choices from this like setback perspective, which to me was the original hook that caught me. It was amazing. You start to see like, hey, like I think I know that it's even one of your big things is that if you're a doctor, look in the medical industry. If you're a trucker, look into trucks. Stick with what you know. And it's like, oh my gosh, you have the whole world out there to make money to invest in. And it was fascinating. So I had a couple of questions for you, but before I start, what are your thoughts? I just threw a whole lot of stuff at you.
Well, I appreciate the comments about the book. And a lot of what I do is if you want to encapsulate it under an umbrella, I'd say that it's mass market digital publications. I'm trying to get to the people who are looking for a leg up, like I was when I started. And there's nobody when I started to help me go from a few $100, well, it was a few thousand to a lot more. And I realized that there's a value in showing people how to do that. And it's not all this fancy stuff you see on CNBC. It's just step back, take a breath, and look. And what do you know about it? How do you understand a company and use those understandings to find a good company because you understand the industry, and that can actually be more profitable by than getting into like binary options or all these scams that are going out there right now. You know, you just look at a company, A small company is the same as a big company, only it's a lot more vulnerable to certain things. But you look at a company as a company, if it makes money, if it's successful, then the share price often follows suit. And you don't have to be that incredible of an investor to understand how a company works. It's really straightforward and simple if you get
Right.
to if you get into this stuff. So a regular guy with a few $100 can turn that into many thousands if he does the work to learn about getting involved in really good, high quality company stocks that are trading at lower prices. And that's what my whole approach to the career has been so far.
Right, right. And for you that came more naturally, or you understood that, but you taught us how to think that way. So it's like sometimes you have a hard time figuring out where the teacher ends and the student begins. What you're saying to me sounds like obvious, but that's only because I've been studying how you think and been applying it to myself. And I agree with you 100%. Okay, question number one. I'm gonna do this like bullet style.
No
Okay.
problem.
The two of us were very like organized, logical guys, so I think this might work. Question number one. Okay, so as we discussed previously, um, you talk about how when you were younger, you got really beat up with this penny stock and it broke your heart and it really frustrated you, but you said, you know what, I'm gonna beat this. And you did. You're one of the biggest names in small companies, analyzing them for financial value in the world. So that little kid, he won. But the thing is that I find that because people love you so much, they just take what you say and they go with it. And I think that you can challenge anybody, even somebody you like, even if somebody you love. For example, good. What you're saying is a great story, but there are more steps to it that I want to know about. First of all, how did that come about? You didn't just turn around and do a couple of training sessions like an Iraqi montage and win. You put in a lot of work. And second of all, back then, as we were discussing, they were mailers. They weren't like now where everything is nice and pretty and tied, and you can, for the most part, if you have some understanding, know who the scammers are, which is the gambling stocks and which are real companies. This stock that you failed at, you probably got a card in the mail and you didn't have all this technology back then. Not that we lived in the olden days, but the technology in the last few years is fascinating. So, and for those of your viewers that are younger, they should know this, that penny stocks didn't always look like a couple of digits flying around on a modern tech computer. It was a piece of paper in the mailbox. So I would love to know um, the real story behind what happened. It must have taken a long time and a lot of struggle. And
Well, I'll tell you what, Ari, is that I wish it had been a scam. I wish somebody had tricked me out of my money, but it was all me. All the mistakes were all me, 100%. And you were talking about, it's good that you understand this naturally and then other people can learn. I had to learn. I didn't know it at first either. I was just like you guys, and I just didn't know anything. And I thought, I'll get involved in a small company in that way. If it drops a little bit, I'll cash out and take a loss and I'll learn my lesson. And if it goes up a lot, then I'm going to be great. But what happened was that it went down a little bit. I said, well, if it goes down even another penny, I'm going to cash out, take my lumps. And it got halted and all the money just disappeared, So that's how I learned. And that's when I sat down. I said, okay, how do you do this right? And then as I started seeing success myself by paper trading first, learning from all these different books and pretending I had $100,000, I'd buy this stock, buy that stock, and see how I did. Doing that first. And then once I started getting some money together and doing really well with my investing, that's when I thought, you know what, I can help more people learn about what I'm doing. Because what I wanted when I was 14 would have been great to have a book out there that I could have read, or somebody to say, like, don't do that. Here's the right way to do it. You don't do that. I
have
mean,
yourself out there.
yeah, I wish what I'm trying to do a lot of my career, and I've said this before, I'm trying to save the 14-year-old version of myself, because I was like, a lamb to the slaughter out there. And there was like,
Yeah.
I just knew that I wanted to make more money. I'd saved up all this money doing these crappy jobs that I hated. And I go, let's try and make the money work for me. That's what everybody tells you to do. That's what I thought I was doing. And I
Right.
went to a newspaper and I went to the back page where you see the little stock ticker symbols. That's how long ago this was. It was like there wasn't internet yet. and not massively used internet yet. And so I picked a stock, a small penny stock, gold mining company, out of the black and white, stock symbols in the paper. And that's what I
Mhm.
bought. And I didn't know anything about the company, and I didn't know anything about halting, and I didn't know anything about any aspect of anything. And it was actually a good thing. It didn't feel like it at the time. You lose a lot more than the money, and I just realized later in life it was a good thing because I learned how to do it properly, and I learned how to show other people to avoid the same mistakes that I made.
Right, right. Um, what I found interesting while doing a little bit of research on you, not that that should sound creepy, that's professionalism nowadays, is that so you have multiple sclerosis and you developed it. I'm not sure many people know this because again, we just follow your lead. You say something, okay, it's put in our head. I don't know if many people know this, but it began when you were a teenager, and if I have my timeline figured out, it happened in about the same time that you had this experience with this thing that was going to decide your career for you. And what's interesting to me is that if you're like the happiest guy I know. I mean, you're definitely up there on the top percentile. So to me, that means you beat it because I mean, it's all about happiness in life. So if you're happy, you've won. And I wonder if the two are intertwined. The fact that, you had a challenge in one life in one area of your life that you were going to have to learn to live with and make the best out of, which most people don't even know that you have this until they get to know you for a while. It's not, you don't present it. Some people live in the worst challenge of their life, and some people say, heck no, this is going to be a great life. And the other thing you could control, the stock trading, you could really improve on. And I wonder if there's like a correlation, like in your life, were they happening sort of at the same time, and were you like were you using the feelings towards one towards beating of the other, or is that making any sense?
It's making sense. And I would say that thinking about it that way is a lot more, it's more like what I am now in a more mature version of myself, where it's like at the time it didn't feel like that at all. I was just scrambling around, so just dealing with whatever was coming at me, and I just dealt with it. But as I get older, you take a step back and you think about things, you take your time. That's the difference. It's the maturity. It's really helped me a lot. And it was all about gratitude. I've never been significantly discriminated against in my life. I know most people have. And it's like, I've just been
Despite being Canadian.
yeah, well, it's
That's
a little bit,
incredible.
a little bit of that, but it's just, and I got to be, grateful for that, to think like, okay, look what I've done. I've done okay. And it's like, yeah. And I did that not having a lot of the challenges that a lot of other people have. So everyone's got their problems. And so I feel it's sort of my role that I can do this. I'm so grateful that I have the technologies that I can put out my message. It's basically the new modern version of standing on a soapbox in the crowd in the town square, right?
Yeah.
It's more efficient, it gets to more people. And so I'm just using all the tools I can possibly use to try and help people in the economy, because they are getting completely taken advantage of, and I don't know how you say it, like just screwed over. I don't know if, it's just,
Yeah, that,
it's
that was part of
really,
what I was going to mention is that you're in a world of sharks.
yeah.
You being a nice guy is not standard. It's not like you're a nice guy and you I don't know, you work in an antique store. You're a nice guy and you work around really, really nasty people. I mean, well, you separate to the side, but these people don't care, some of them. It's part
a
of the
lot of
business.
a lot of what I dealt with in the early part of my career is that people were trying to pitch me money to promote some stock, talk about this stock, and they're going to give me some money or some other benefit. And I just knew that I never ever wanted to be that guy. It's like I always say, I would rather lose a game than cheat at it. I'd rather lose at my career than take money from companies and then talk about companies somebody else burns himself by
Right,
buying those shares. I don't
right.
always get it right when I talk about a stock, My team doesn't always get it right when we talk about stock, but we're always giving you our honest opinion of what we think is going to happen. That's going to be good for you. And
Right.
I'm not going to talk about a stock that somebody's paying me to talk about. So that
Right.
was the one thing that everybody in the industry is doing. And I never, ever did that. And I'm able to say now that I never did that. And everybody did it.
Right. Yeah, it's actually interesting because one of the things I was going to get to is that you put your money, ironically, literally, in this business where your mouth is. More than once you said, I believe this is going to happen and I will bet my career on it because if I'm wrong, I'm going to look foolish. And you train us to be not so crazy, not to be like all out, but to be diversified in an intelligent way. But when it comes to your word, you're all in, which is literally what you're describing now from a different thing that I did. How can I know about these offers? I was actually just telling somebody yesterday about these agents. They come in all kinds of businesses, and they're like bloodsuckers. They'll say, "I'll give you 100 grand. Let's make a deal." They know that you're going to be making millions down the road, or whatever industry you're in. But it's similar. When you're younger, people don't understand that when you're being offered something really big, you offer somebody who's up and coming 100 grand, and let me be a 70-30 or a 60-40 partner. You're like, okay. And then 2 years later, you're like, yeah, I just sold my life to the devil. So
Yeah,
I get it. It's a real thing that you're saying.
for
It's very,
sure.
very interesting. So basically, what you're saying is that anybody has the choice to look at the good or look at the challenges, and you got to have a good perspective.
Yeah, I mean, that's especially with this illness. I got it when I was 17 and I got mono, and they're finding a link now between getting mono and then getting MS around the ages of 18 to 24-ish or whatever. So they found a direct link now. So it probably was because, and I'm not saying that I know that, but I'm saying it probably was because I got mono. But the disease actually got a lot more aggressive more recently in my life. So I'm in a wheelchair full time now. But the thing is that there's a lot of amazing, wonderful things that have come into my life because of the illness, because of the disability. There's a lot
Yeah.
of value in seeing the world in a way and appreciating every moment and being grateful and being in the moment more often, and at least trying to be in the moment more often. I'm not very good at
Yeah.
it yet, but there's a lot of people will look at someone with a disability and be like, oh, poor guy. But you don't
Yeah.
know, you can be equally as happy. You can be 100% happy in any situation, no matter what obstacles you have. And sometimes it's actually the obstacles that you have to overcome that are the most rewarding part of it. The fact that I have this illness and these obstacles and I'm still able to keep trucking along is such a wonderful, great, rewarding feeling.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I mean, I would love to say I could relate to you, but the truth is that I just tore my calf muscle actually a couple weeks ago. And the first thing I did, I called up my friend who has a stroke, you know, and I said, "Man, I always appreciated that you were a special guy, but like nobody can understand what a guy, not to compare, but it's like you think you get it, but you don't even like an ounce of get it. Like a little torn calf muscle, and you're like so debilitated as a part of like one piece in the body that's a little off.
Yeah.
And you realize that people that are challenged, yeah, I guess we're supposed to believe God loves them more. That's why he keeps them close.
Yeah, I guess so. But also, like, there's one way to look at it too is that when it comes to illnesses like this, there's always somebody who's got a bigger illness or a harder problem. So if you're ever saying, woe is me, I'm having a hard time doing whatever, just remember there's a bunch of people that aren't there complaining that have it worse than you. Everyone's got their problems and everyone's got different levels of problems, but everyone's got their problems. So that's what I use, the way I look at it, to try and drive myself when I'm feeling tired or when I'm just done for the day. I don't feel like I can do anything more. I'll push myself because I'll realize that it could be a lot worse. And this is the time.
Yeah.
Right now is the youngest you're ever going to be, the healthiest you're going to ever be. And it goes from
Right.
there. So just make the most use of every moment.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate what you said about penny stocks for dummies too, because you get it. That book wasn't just about investing in the stock market. that book sort of melded in a bit of philosophy and a little bit of the way that I look at the world and the
Yes.
or like spiritual aspects of it. And the whole point of the new part of the new book of the new edition of the book was all about getting your mind space right, getting right mentally to do what you have to do. And if that's investing in stocks, and that's what it is. And if it's training for the tough mudder, then that's what it is. You got to get your
Right.
mindset right for sure, and then build from there.
Right. Right. Absolutely. It's interesting. I don't want to make this a religious thing, but we have a belief in Judaism, and I'm sure it's true in every religion, and that is that you're supposed to look to people below you who are challenged, and you're supposed to look to people above you that you can learn from. And a lot of times people get that backwards, and they're looking at the people that are wealthy or jealous, and they forget to look at the people that have it worse. And
Yeah.
it's certainly a good way to live life. It's a challenge. I mean, it's put there for a reason. And yeah, no, I totally get it. Um, so okay, next thing, and I'm not sure. I really have no clue how you're going to receive this because this is something you've never spoken about. But something I noticed about you, you are an extremely repetitive person. And I don't mean that in an offensive way. I mean that if you believe something, you will repeat it. Like, I promise we're not going to make this a financial show. I'm not going to get into an example, although I will say one thing at the end. Um, but I told you that I've noticed that over the 5 years or so that I'm following you, um, I think you've mentioned your daughter once, maybe twice, but I know you have a daughter. She could be, well, she can't be 4 years old anymore. She could be six. She could be 30, not 26, you know? But it's very interesting that when it comes, you mentioned her and it was just once. And then, but when it comes to business, you're very, very emphatic, enthusiastic. And I don't know if that's like a severance, like a separation between family and business, or if that's since we're delving into your mind, I'm curious why it is that when it comes to family things on the show, you're very, very minimal about it. And as I ask the question, I'm realizing how silly it sounds. And you're
It
more intense about the business part. Sorry,
doesn't,
that's the question.
it doesn't sound silly at all. I appreciate you asking that because no one's ever asked me that. I have a 22-year-old daughter. I have a 19-year-old son, and I've got a 16-year-old daughter, 15,
Oh,
about to turn 16. And so, like, but I purposely don't mention them or talk about them very much at all because I actually put a lot into my life about trying to keep the business world and my personal life separate to a certain degree.
right.
Um, and so I'm very just cautious. I mean, err on the side of caution.
Okay, fair enough. So no deep reason.
No, no, I'm just trying to be a reclusive kind of guy who I don't put my whole life out there. And it's difficult being on YouTube a
But
lot.
on
It's
the
like,
other hand, people feel very close to you. That's why I bring it up. I apologize for
yeah,
interrupting.
no, not at
Be,
all.
People love you. That's what I was saying. That you give off a limited amount of who you are, and people feel close to you. It's a talent, you know.
And I'm transitioning to whereas I just went on a 2 week vacation. The old me would have brought up my camera everywhere and filmed everything and talked
Right,
here and there. I went on a 2 week vacation and I made a point, and there's people there that were longtime followers who I feel bad about not saying, hey, I'm in town, we'll get together maybe next time. But I did all my work ahead of time. I did a little bit of work there, but I actually tried to take a proper vacation. And my girlfriend
good
and
for
I,
you.
Jane, we just tooled around, had a great time, but I don't want to put that on camera. I don't want to be like, look at what I'm doing, look at this, look at where I am. Like
Right,
that was the old me. That's a young man's game. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm trying to
right.
keep under the radar, lay low, and try and help people best way I can using whatever tools are available to me.
Understood. Well, listen. I mean, we could talk for hours, and God willing, at some point we will. But I think we're gonna have to call an end to this just because. And like I said, this is my first time doing a Zoom interview, which I think is so ironic that it's with you of all people that I've only seen. Maybe you just exist in the computer. I don't know. It's possible.
I'm a deep
But
fake.
I want to thank you for joining me. and I really appreciate this. I have so many questions that are spinning in the back of my mind, and if it's okay with you, perhaps we could have like another a part two at some point shortly.
Sure.
But I'm really glad. Yes,
Well, I don't often do a lot of media interviews anymore, but for you, I know I've been seeing you for many years now. So for you, I'll do it. Okay.
thank you, thank you. Yeah, I didn't
Absolutely.
want to repeat that. You could say that because I didn't want to open up a can of worms and you start getting email. What's so special about Ari? Well, I mean, I know it's special, but I don't want them to feel bad. But thank you so much for your time. I really truly appreciate it. I want to end the video before the recording stops. I am at no way uh proficient with this. So that's like my entire goal in life right now is to make sure it doesn't stop recording. But thank you so much and God bless you.
All right, it's a pleasure, and I look forward to the next one.
Thank you. Take care.